Begin the presentation talking a little bit about some of the issues, or one issue in particular that we looked at when we were sitting down to discuss our outlook for the year. Every year we try and pick an issue that's of ongoing concern, something that isn't going to be fixed today or tomorrow, but is worthy of debate. Last year it was all about the advertising impact on the economy, and today it's about innovation. And innovation, by innovation what we mean is great thinking that leads to change. That to me is a good definition of what true innovation is. It's not using existing channels in a slightly different way and calling that innovation and having a photo opportunity. It's about doing something that really makes a difference. But the problem is, in our industry, we're a very creative industry, there's no doubt about that. We produce great work, but we are quite slow to embrace change. Quite slow to adopt innovation, and in many ways we're quite a hesitant industry. And I think we're a hesitant industry, and when I talk about the industry, I'm not talking about the media owners on their own, I'm not talking about advertising agencies on their own, media specialist clients, I'm talking about all of us together, because we are all the industry together. And it's because there is a culture, I think, in the industry of fear of failure. And when you have a culture of fear of failure, you're never going to get real risk-taking and embracing of change. And you need to have a culture which embraces success and failure equally in order to do great things, like the obvious ones that we always talk about, the Samsungs of the world to curve the television, or the Googles of the world who have absolutely transformed how we get about our town and from city to city through Google Maps. It's a phenomenal piece of technology that didn't come from a fear of failure. And also what the great products that Apple has produced. Those products were developed because of a culture of risk-taking, trying new things, and not being afraid to fail. And there are obvious exceptions when we talk about this, because when you generalize, there are always going to be exceptions. And this is a great exception, which is Red Bull. Their entire business, their entire brand and their bottom line is linked to their marketing innovation, where they tried things entirely differently and made great strides and added enormous value to the brand as a result. But we must think differently, and the problem, I think, when it comes to marketing is that there is always this need from clients of justifying every single euro that's on the plan in advance and demonstrating that it will work. That's not going to result in real change and real innovation for the business. It can't. You have to be prepared to proportionally invest in order to get new change happening within the business. I mean, what would you prefer at the end of the year if you were sitting down with your boss and you were saying, well, I took the marketing budget that I had at the beginning of the year and I invested it very wisely. I put all the money in proven channels that have proven time and time again they work, and we got the success that we expected, but it's about in line with the norm. Or would you prefer to say that we took a proportional approach and we invested in proven channels, and we also then took a proportion of the budget and we tried new things. We got great learnings, great knowledge, and next year our plan will be even stronger and will beat our competitors even more as a result of these new learnings that we have generated. I think we all know which conversation we prefer to have. And I think what you need to have in that climate, because of this fear of failure, you need to give people permission to invest and permission to experiment. And we really like what Coca-Cola did about 5 years ago, where they took a concept that had been around in various guises of 70-20-10 and applied it to marketing investment, where they said, okay, this is what we want you to do all around the world in our marketing departments. We want you to put 70% of your marketing investment into proven channels, as they call it, the type of activity that pays the rent. We want you to put 20% in new and emerging channels that are starting to gain traction with the consumers. And we want you to put 10% into completely untested, untried things that nobody has tried before. And I think that is a wonderful approach to how you plan your year. You're giving people permission, and you're giving people an exciting opportunity to try new things, and you're celebrating that success or that failure equally. And that's how we have change, that's how things happen, and that's how differences occur.
My name is Eddie O'Mahony and I'm Chief Trading Officer at Core Media. Before I get into talking about figures in relation to the media marketplace, I thought it was important just to put in some background information in relation to how the economy is doing. We're all very aware that the economy is in recovery. However, it's quite uneven depending on the sector that you look at and also geographically. Another key indicator that we look at is consumer sentiment. And over the last number of years, it has been getting stronger, but it is still tentative. One of the key things that we look at as well is that this positive consumer sentiment is also now reflected in terms of the retail sales value, which has been improving, and particularly over the last 12 months, where each month has shown positive growth. It's important that we point out that this is value of sales, not volume. If you look at the volume of sales, they'll be increasing at a faster rate, because one of the key things in the Irish market is that the Irish consumer now demands value for money, which means it is costing products or services more to deliver the sales increases that are being seen there. In terms of these retail sales figures, they exclude motor trade because they will skew the actual results. So what does that mean in terms of media expenditure? Well, we know that there is generally a lag in terms of increased media expenditure on the back of improved sales and consumer sentiment. In 2016, we forecast that the overall market is going to increase by about 6%. Offline media overall will see an increase in the region of about 2% in 2016, which is the first time that has seen positive growth in the last 6 years. We also anticipate that in 2017 it will once again see growth. Online will continue to grow at double-digit figures in 2015 and 2016. And in fact, in 2015, online will now become the biggest single media in the Irish market, with a share in excess of 30%. I think it's also important to remember that while we're talking about growth in the Irish media market over the next 2 years, that spend of 851 million in 2016 is the equivalent of what was being spent in 2008. And bear in mind that in 2016 we have a whole load of more media opportunities available to our brands and to our clients, which means that competition has never been greater. I mentioned earlier that value was very important to consumers. And in 2015 and 2016, media value will continue to be a key deliverable in terms of the media investment that's made on behalf of our clients. 2015 will also see the return of media inflation across certain media owners in the Irish market. But for the first time, that inflation will be demand-led as against supply-led. Engagement with consumers will continue to be a top priority for our clients, and therefore media partnerships and sponsorships will be a vital element of all our communications going forward beyond 2015 and 16. I thought it would be interesting to take a look at what's happening in the UK, because usually in Ireland we are about 4 years behind in terms of where we spend our media and how we spend our media, deploy our media monies. Looking at media expenditure and how it has evolved over the last number of years in the UK, we see that in 2010, 29% of all spend in the market was across digital. Move on 4 years, and in 2014, that increased to 43%. So within the next 4 to 5 years, we anticipate that digital expenditure could account for 43% or €43 out of every €100 that is spent in the Irish media marketplace.
Well, I just want to leave you with just a thought, and it's I think it feeds off a lot of what we've spoken about today, which is, you know, to dream a little bit about possibilities and not just to accept the status quo, to challenge ourselves and to try and be inventive. And as we said at the beginning of today's presentation, innovation, the definition from my point of view of innovation is great thinking that brings about change. And if we can do that, we will all make progress in what we do in this industry day to day. And with that in mind, I think it's interesting to look back a little bit, 15 years ago, how these businesses have transformed themselves in the last 15 years. 15 years ago, Amazon only sold books online. They didn't sell anything else but books. That was it. All the other products came in a few years later. And Netflix simply was a business that sent DVDs out to people by post. That was their business model. And then this January,
both of those organisations won Golden Globes. I mean, I think that's an example of two businesses that never, were timid in relation to risk taking. And as a result of that, those businesses are going from strength to strength and not thinking of themselves in a narrow sense, but in a much broader way. So thank you very much for your time this morning.